All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. So today's webinar, of course, is how to get the most out of your website. Specifically, with regards to how to get the most out of your website, what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about Google Analytics and Google Search Console. So there's a couple of assumptions that are being made here while we talk about these tools. And very quickly, I just want you to understand that the assumptions that I'm making is that obviously that you're going to be able to set these up, but also that you have a website, and frankly, that you are interested in spending some time either in search engine optimization in that field, might be in search engine marketing. Really what we're talking about here is we're spending some time trying to get traffic to our websites, and now we're thinking about how do we measure it? How do we get a clue as to whether or not this is working? So you may have seen some of this information before. There are 63,000 search queries every second on Google. It really equates to about 5.5 billion searches a day. And of course, there's over 2 trillion searches per year as a result. So what does this mean? It means that your Google Search Console, your Google Analytics tools are working overtime. They've got tons of really, really interesting data for you and tons of information to help you determine what's working and what's not working on your website that way. Now, something that's interesting, and when we go through Google Analytics and things like that, we're going to talk about lots of different sources of traffic. But something that's interesting is 90% of web pages actually receive zero organic traffic from Google. It's difficult. It's difficult to get your page to rank properly and rank the way you want it to. And so they actually receive zero organic traffic from Google, and 5% actually receive less than 10 visits or less each month. So really contextually, you get an idea there pretty quickly. 95% of our websites are receiving 10 or fewer visitors a month. So the tools we're going to use today are going to help us hopefully fix some of those things. So today we're going to go through a handful of different things. We're going to go through common terms. We're going to define some common terms. If you've taken part in any of our other webinars or watched anything before from us, you may see some duplicity here. We're going to talk about why use Search Console, what it's good for. And we're going to talk about Google Analytics basics as well, and some of the most basic functions you can use. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to jump away from the deck here, and you're going to join me as we go real time through Google Search Console and Google Analytics. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's in there, specifically in this case, obviously around the Cats Cove Communications website. So let's do some key terms here, some glossary, if you will. So keywords are words and phrases that prospects use to find online content, and that brands can obviously use in order to connect with these prospects. So the idea being keywords are effectively what's being entered into a search engine. Anytime you hear or see me talk about the idea of an impression, it means it's the number that tells you how often your ad or your page has already been shown to users when searched for. Click-through rate, and again, you can see that I've got some terminology in here around ads, but click-through rate means the same as clicks divided by impressions. So it's the percentage of users who landed on your page because they clicked on it. Some simple math that way. If you hear us talk about, and you're going to see this later, you're going to see the idea of bounce rate. And for those of us that have a web developer or a web designer, or even maybe just those of us that have built our own web page, maybe we've heard the phrase bounce rate. And it's the percentage of visitors to a particular website who navigate away from the site after actually only viewing one page. So it's not exactly what we want to see. The short version is with bounce rate, if you're above 70% in your bounce rate, you kind of want to take a look at why people are bouncing away at that point in time. Very specifically, and we'll go back through it, but I'm bringing it up now because as you know, if you've ever spent any time with us here at Cats Cove Communications, we are big on data and how data can help you and your business. So these last two are affinity categories and in-market segments. So we're going to go through some of the data that Google can provide to you. And this is based off things like Google search history. So it's used to reach potential customers to make them aware of your brand or product. So these are users, if they're in what we call affinity categories, that are high in the purchase funnel. So they might be near the beginning of the process. They might be the kind of people that are starting to research things. In-market segments are more likely, the people in the in-market segments are more likely to be ready to make a decision to purchase a product or a service in that category. All of this doesn't make any sense to you right now. I promise you it will. One of the things we're going to do when we get into the analytics side is we're going to break down what our users are, what the Cats Cove user base looks like. And it's pretty astonishing what we can actually find out in those categories that way. So something to remember, and why Google Search Console, why search engine optimization, why Google Analytics, why all of these things are super, super important is because when we're talking about search engines and what somebody's typing into Google, we need to understand that it shows intent. Search shows intent, intent to buy, to research, to gather more information. So even if I just go back to the idea of affinity categories and in-market segments, Google is taking, so let's use myself as an example, and is looking at everything that I search for, everything that I Google, and it decides based on how I interact on certain pages, how often I'm searching for certain terms, whether or not I'm searching for used cars near me, for example. They're determining whether or not I'm near the beginning of the search process, of the car buying process, or whether I'm a little lower in that proverbial purchase funnel and near the end of the process, because search shows intent. So a customer searching for something is really telling you what they want. And with these tools, we can see what people are searching for when they actually are being shown your website, not necessarily what they're clicking on, but what they're searching for when they're being shown your website. But of course, remember, 95% of these websites are receiving less than 10 visitors a month, right? So we need to think about why search engine optimization is important, right? So SEO is important because it's the primary source of digital traffic. Done properly, it can really increase your visibility. Higher visibility means more visitors means more customers, which is why, and I know it's a long journey to get to this point, but which is why we really need to understand how to use Google Search Console. Google Search Console is going to show you the most common searches that lead people or show people your site. It's actually going to be able to show you which pages are getting clicks, and it lets you get a better idea of who is actually linking to your page at the same time. Okay, so like those are three things right away that you can think about. So what is getting my website shown? What is actually getting clicked on? And who out there has put up a link? So if you've joined a chamber of commerce, if you're sharing, if you're a member of a BIA or a downtown community, and you know your website is listed there, you can actually see all the places that your website is being linked to out there on the World Wide Web. So this is a graphic that I've stolen from Neil Patel. It's an image on his site, and it's quite simply why use Search Console. There's all these reasons here, right, guys? I'm not going to read through all of this, but Search Console and the bottom half of this graphic is really important. Which queries caused your site to appear? Did some result in more traffic than others? Which sites are linking? Is your mobile site performing well? All those kinds of fun things, right? So if you've never set up Google Search Console, it's pretty simple. We're going to go to the Search Console website. Listen, guys, it's not a complicated thing. If you go to Google and type in Google Search Console, then that will get you there. You're going to sign in with your Google account, right? Preferably one you're already using for Google Analytics. So if somebody else has built your website for you and they've set up your Google Analytics, make sure that we've got the same email address, the same Google account that we're using. You're going to add property button in the upper left corner. When you get there, you're going to enter your website, And then of course, you're gonna have to verify your website that you're the actual owner of your website, right? Stop somebody like me from being able to check out all the websites in the world, right? I don't own the websites. I can't just check them out. Okay, so before we get to Google Analytics, we are going to hop into my browser quickly. We should all be able to see the front page of Google Search Console. So again, this is what it looks like. Pretty simple. Let's go through it really, really quickly, what we're looking at, what's in here, and how it's going to help you. This is a tool that that I use frequently with my team to evaluate what's working, what's not working on our website, things like that. So the first graph we see here is just quite simply labeled performance, right? And it just shows you web search clicks, right? So, I mean, on October 27th, we got 4 web search clicks. On, this looks like a high day, we got 5 on November 10th. Lots in here with zeros, because of course there's always ones in here with zeros as well, right? The idea of coverage. So we have 143 valid pages. We have 4 pages with errors. Now, sometimes these are pages that we need to worry about. Sometimes they're not. I'm not going to go into full report and things like that. You guys don't need to see all that right now, but you, if it is your stuff, need to know if you have pages with errors on it and whether or not they're things you need to be concerned about. That's a pretty quick little overview. If you actually click on this Search Console Insights, it's going to take you to something that's going to look like this. Okay, so you can start to understand your site's performance a little bit more here. So it's a great number, I guess. I mean, I don't know whether to tell you 23,681 is great for all-time page views or not. That's not really the number I'm concerned about. I'm looking at stuff like site overview over the past 28 days. So we've got 665 page views, for example, which is an increase in 63%. That's really what I care about more than the actual number of page views, right? I do care about the average page view duration. More importantly, I care about whether it's going up or going down. That kind of thing, right? So here's the new content that I've posted, or that we've posted, I should say, and how it's doing, right? So there's page view insights here as well. We'll get into those a little bit more when we jump into Search Console stuff later. But so a couple of new blogs that we've posted, our most popular content. So our most popular content, no surprise, is our homepage. We've got 175 views on it, only 30 seconds, which I don't love. The page Get a Better Website is trending significantly up, which is good. We're spending some time to try and get some more people on the Get a Better Website page, so I'm glad to see that. And then resources, which you may or may not have used to acquire the link to this webinar and this video, is another place. It's where we post a lot of our videos and things like that. So if it's trending up as well and people are spending time there, that's wonderful, right? So right away, what this is telling me in the past 28 days is that these 3 pages are getting lots of eyeballs, and these 2 pages are significantly trending upwards. Now, that's useful or not useful to you, depending on what your marketing goals are. It's always important to remember what your marketing goals are. For me and for Cats Cove Communications, if our resources page is trending up right now, that's good. People are spending time there. This Get a Better Website, again, those are good things. If there's traffic on pages that I don't necessarily care if people are on, that tells me a lot too, right? And I'm not going to go through all 15 itemized pages of my most popular content here. This is just to give you an idea. Right away, Google Search Console as well tells you how people are finding you. Now, analytics will do this as well and breaks it down a little bit more. This is just high level stuff. So this tells me, again, people are coming to us mainly from direct. Well, what does that mean? It means they're typing into their search bar, catscovecommunications.com. Maybe they're bookmarked, or, and here's something that skews the number a bit. If Google can't really figure out exactly how you've got to the website, they just file you under direct. Organic search is good, right? Organic search means people are actually Googling us and finding us. Now, it doesn't mean that they're always getting what they want, but it does mean that they're showing up. And of course, social is pretty clear as well, right? It's 144 people from our social media networks. You'll notice we have a much lower time spent on site than we do or from our social links than we do anywhere else. Now that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be that we're running some social media ads that people get to the site and go, oh man, this isn't really what I wanted. Could be a bunch of different things. Keep in mind, when we talk about 95% of websites receive 10 or less visitors a month, we're talking about from this category, from organic search. It doesn't mean that your website is not getting traffic. It means that it might be getting tons of traffic from social media, for example, or it might be getting tons direct, right? So it's without first clicking on a link on another site, search engine, or social media. So it could be a browser bookmark, or it could be somebody texted it to somebody else. Well, that would be a direct link. So this is important as well. And again, you can go into this in depth. We're actually going to go back over here to overview in a moment, right? We can go through our most searched queries that are leading to time on our page. And this is just very quickly an overview again. Google search, how visitors are finding our site. So we've got the page views that are going up, which is great. We've got clicks that are going up, and we've got people, an average page view duration is going up. So right now, I mean, I got to be honest, as the owner of Cats Cove Communications, I'm pretty happy, right? Now, what about most trending queries? Well, that's not coming up with anything. It might come up with something else, right? And so these are the ones that are most searched that are leading people here: Cats Cove Communications and Cats Coves. And as you can see, we've got some clicks there. Referring links from other websites. Again, this is all super important information for you to gather to figure out where your traffic's coming from. You're sinking all this money into advertising and marketing, whether it be traditional or whether it be online. And this is a way that we're going to start measuring what's working. So this is links from other websites. Well, our most popular ones, and this is no surprise, coming from TapLink. What's TapLink? Well, TapLink is the link in bio that you have in Instagram. So we're getting most of our traffic right now from our Instagram bio is what that means, right? At least from a link standpoint, because on Facebook, of course, we just have the link directly on our ad that way. So this is a really quick site overview. So we're going to close that down. It gives you a ton of really high level information, and it's really, really interesting that way. But there is so much more to play with in Google Search Console. So overviews are great, but again, overviews don't necessarily tell you the whole story. So what I do want to go to is I want to go to this button over here called Performance. And when we get into performance, this is where we get to see some other really interesting stuff. So remember, we talked about clicks and impressions, click-through rates, right? So this is why we talk about it, because we're starting to see, again, we can change our date, right? But I have it set for last 3 months. You want to change it, you click on the pencil, you edit it, and you change it appropriately. I'm going to keep it at last 3 months. And this is a snapshot of web searches in the last 3 months that have led people to see, not necessarily to get through, because remember, our click-through rate's only 1.2%, but to see our website. So in 3 months, we have just under 9,000 impressions with 100 clicks. So this is interesting, right? So we actually have the queries, the things people are putting into Google to find us. Couple of columns here. We have clicks and we have impressions. If you want more, you go up here and you click click-through rate and average position. Don't worry about this graph. I mean, it gives you an idea as to whether you're trending up or down, which is wonderful. But if you want it down here, this is really what we're looking for. So this is interesting, right? People are searching for Cats Cove. In the last 3 months, we've had 33 searches just for that. And keep in mind, this is a very specific term, Cats Cove. 33 impressions has led to 10 clicks. Okay, well, that's good. That means people that are searching for us are finding us. That's wonderful. Cats Cove Communications, Cats Cove Communications. This one's interesting. And this is where it becomes important for you. And this is how I want you to start thinking about using this tool. Or again, if you have a web developer, you have somebody else that's doing this stuff for you. This is how I want them to start using this tool and give you the reports that you want. So I'm not surprised, obviously, I should say, that people who are searching for Cats Cove are finding our website? I would suspect so. They're clicking through. It gives you an idea, right? It makes sense. We rank #1 for Cats Cove Communications, and we rank on average about 3rd for just the term Cats Cove. Here's some other interesting things though, right? We're ranking and we've been seen for the idea of Instagram direct message examples, for the phrase answer the public, all kinds of interesting things like this. I'm going to add a few more rows to this page here. So just bear with me while I expand it. E-commerce in Ontario, SEO, a quick download. People are searching for SEO, a quick download. E-commerce websites in Perth. And I want you to notice something, and this is something that I look at when I'm looking at this, is let's say e-commerce websites in Perth. So there have been 90 times that we have been seen, just impressions, for the phrase e-commerce website in Perth. But what I notice is we haven't got any clicks. So I immediately start thinking about, okay, well, what does that mean? Why aren't we getting any clicks? What is it people are seeing when they when they see this? So if I go to e-commerce or even e-commerce Ontario, let's do e-commerce in Ontario, and I'm going to click on e-commerce in Ontario specifically. And now here's the fun part. This is only for that search term, e-commerce in Ontario. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're a restaurant, and it might be a restaurant near me, or it might be, if you're retail, it could be a flower shop near me, men's clothes near me. It could be any of these terms. You can then click on that query that has shown your website to somebody, but the person has or hasn't clicked through, and you can scroll down and you can start playing with some of these other tabs. Why are these other tabs important? Well, watch this when I click on pages. It tells me exactly what page is being shown when people search for that term. Why is that important? Well, what if there's something about this page at catscovecommunications.com/e-commerce that doesn't resonate? What if it's titled incorrectly? What if the description of the page doesn't make sense? There's a reason people see it and scroll right by it. In traditional sense, if somebody was looking, we'll use the idea of a restaurant again. If somebody was looking for a restaurant in your town and they search for restaurants and they realize that you're located on Main Street, and they walk right by your window, why did they walk by your window when they were searching for a restaurant? What was it that wasn't appealing? Now, it could be 1,000 different things. It could be they were scrolling by. It could be scrolling by online in that the next link was more appealing and it offered them a discount on e-commerce. It could be in real time that they know that there's a pizza place down the street and they're not interested in the Chinese food your restaurant offers. There's lots of reasons, but this tells you what it's actually showing here as well. Here's the other fun part. If I get rid of query here, I can start to investigate the specific pages. So let's say you've built a new page on your website, and you've built it because you're selling a new product, or you want people to know about a new special you have, or it's just wonderful information that you want all of your followers to know about. Instead of queries where I can go to pages specifically. So as you can see, it brings up all of our Cats Cove Communications pages here. Now, of course, we build websites at Cats Cove Communications, so I'm super interested in the 150 people that saw our website design page. 4 of them clicked, which is wonderful, but I'm super interested in what showed them that page. The reason I want to know what query it was that brought them to that page is because it tells me, remember, it tells me, so now we're going to go off of this, and now we're going to go back to queries, and this is going to tell me exactly what people are searching for when they're looking for a business like mine. As you go through this process is going to tell you exactly what people are searching for when they're seeing a business like yours. So this totally makes sense when I look at this. The 2 top search terms that are showing people our website section of our website is redesign website Ontario and affordable website for small business Ontario. That makes sense to me, right? So what kind of information am I going, or what am I going to do with this information, I should say? So let's use the idea of affordable website for small business Ontario. I can do a couple of things with this information. I can change our meta description to use the word affordable website, to use the word cheap website if I want to get attention. I can run Google ads against the idea of affordable website for small business Ontario, knowing that this is clearly being searched in some capacity, that people are finding our website. Keep in mind, we're ranking on average on the 4th or 5th page of Google for this search term. So people are really, really scrolling through to come find us. Well, if I run a Google ad that says website sale for this search term, what kind of traffic am I going to get? That kind of thing. If I go back and instead of website design, I'm going to just bear with me here as it loads up, but I'm going to search under the page that we have that offers e-commerce. So here we go, catscovecommunications.com/e-commerce, right? And so I know that this is here because I've looked at it before. If you want to see the pages on your website that get the most impressions, you simply go over to the impressions column here, click on it, and look at that. It sorts it for you. So we get all these impressions in the last 3 months on the idea of Instagram direct messages. We don't get a ton of click-throughs. We get all these impressions on the idea of Answer the Public because we wrote a blog about the tool out there, Answer the Public, to help you with your social media strategy. So here's e-commerce. So we've had 300 impressions, just eyeballs, just sets of eyeballs, and no clicks on e-commerce. Well, let's take a look at what that means. What were people searching that brought them to this page? So we go back to queries. And again, we're going to sort by impressions one more time. And okay, so people are searching for e-commerce in Ontario. 90 people searched for e-commerce websites Perth. That's concerning to me as the owner of Cats Cove Communications. If people are searching within Perth and somehow still aren't clicking on our very Perth heavy website. Now, they could be searching for SEO in Perth County, as it looks like, cheap e-commerce Perth. This could also be Perth, Australia, Perth, Scotland, all of those things. I'm aware of that as well. But this is a wonderful, wonderful way to use Google Search Console to give you a better sense as to what people are searching for when they're looking at specific parts of your website. So I'm going to use the example of a restaurant one more time here with regards to this. And let's say on your website, you have a menu section and you want to know why people are blowing right by your menu. You would go to under pages, right? So we'd X this out. You would go to yourrestaurant.com/menu and you would click on that page. So in this case, I'll pretend that our team is that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, so what's showing this to people? So we're going to go queries and look at this. So there's Toby Cove, Kathy James, Toby Cat, Bonnie Joyce is getting searched for, Joy Cats is being searched for. So there's different reasons that people are seeing it and lots of reasons that people are clicking and not clicking as well. But for you as the menu, you want to see maybe people search for Chinese food and your menu came up. Okay, well, did your description in that search bar mention Chinese food? Or did it just mention all of the other things that you do? Things to think about with regards to that. Again, this is a very useful tool that is going to take some time. If you had somebody else build your website, go to them and have them do some of this work for you. Okay. Before we leave Search Console, I'm going to scroll down here on the left-hand side. We're not going to worry too much about coverage and site maps and things like that. This is a great place to go and submit a site map for your website if you haven't done so It's one of the ways to help Google crawl your site in a more efficient fashion. So I want you to think about that. There are there's some really useful things on the side, but what I want to show you here is this button that says links. Links is super interesting because what links does, and no surprise, is it tells you how people are finding your site from other people's pages. So for us, we have 539 external links that are leading back to Cats Cove Communications in some capacity. As you can see, most of them are going to catscovecommunications.com. A couple of them are going to catscovecommunications.com/resources. And then there's one that's actually out there that says /post/Instagram direct messages. So let's click on the weird one that says Instagram direct messages. And it's from a website called newwritinginternational.com. And they are linking back to our site for some reason. I think that's wonderful. Hopefully it drives lots of traffic for us. Hopefully it drives the right kind of traffic, all of those things. If we just go back to top linked pages just quickly, we see that resources is getting some links again. So that makes sense. So there's one from Find G Local. And of course, we talked about how TapLink is linking back to that. Our Instagram, our link in bio on Instagram is linking back there as well. And the majority of the rest of our stuff is coming from catscovecommunications.com. So if you really want to dive into it, there's 45 sites that are linking to it. And a lot of these are a bunch of websites that we have built for people. Lots of businesses that we were lucky enough have put their trust in us to build these. And we have, of course, on the bottom of a lot of those, built and designed by Cats Cove Communications. And it's going through there. There's some other ones too, though. Look at this, easternontariyolocal.ca, similars.net. There's a podcast we were on, Teach Me Tiger podcast. There's Bark, YouTube, Digital Main Street, lots of other places that are leading us back as well, which is wonderful. And that's what we want. We want to make sure that our website is linked to from as many places as possible. So before we move off of this, in some of our other webinars, some of our other presentations, we have talked about the importance of linking for search engine optimization. So I want to make sure that you understand internal links. So these are links from your property to your property. So in this case, these are links that go from Cats Cove Communications somewhere to Cats Cove Communications somewhere. So if we go into more and we really open up our internal links here, we can see lots of different places so our website design one is linked to from all of these pages on our website. Well, is that any surprise? Not really, right? We want you to know that we do website design. We want you to be able to access our web design features from anywhere on there. This is something that right now, I will say, as I'm recording this at least, doesn't necessarily mean when you're watching this and consuming this, but right now we are going through and we are bolstering our internal linking. What does that mean? It means we're going to link lots of blogs back to other blogs. We're going to link lots of blogs to other sections on our website. This one's interesting to me. This one says Toby was once a traveling salesman. It was a blog. And it's all the different places that it's linked to on our website. This helps people do two things. It helps people stay on your website. First of all, it gives them a reason to continue to check out information on your website. It also, however, lets Google map your site better. So if Google is able to see the fluidity as you go through your site, and it makes sense to Google, it increases your authority within Google's eyes. Internal linking is something that we do not spend nearly enough time doing. I bet if I was to be speaking to you 6 weeks from now, I bet these 2,300 internal links would be significantly higher as we go through our 100 and some odd blogs that we currently have on the website and start kind of tying our website back together. Okay, so what do we need to take away from Google Search Console before we move on to something like Google Analytics? We need to take away the idea of performance. and not necessarily your total clicks, total impressions. Those are great. You want to brag to your friends, you want to win a bar bet, you want to do any stuff like that. That's wonderful. These are great tools for that. But what I really want you to think about is I want you to think about your website. I want you to think about what you would deem to be the 3 most important pages on your website. And specifically, why they're the most important pages. I want you to go to this tab under pages. I want you to click on them. So again, I will say that About Us is the most important page that we have, because we're very, very egocentric and we care about us more than anything else. And I want to know what people are searching for here in order to find us. So social media marketing, Kawartha Lakes has gotten lots of impressions, web design in Perth County. For some reason, all of these, Rivington Appraisers, Dairy Queen Perth, all of these search terms have led people to view the About Us page. Now, what do? You determine if these search terms are what you do and what makes sense. So social media marketing in Kawartha Lakes, is that something that we need to tighten up our page on? We need to have that conversation. For you, if it's your sales page, if it's your menu items, if it's where people will actually be actively engaging with you and people are blowing right by it in the search field, you need to think about what that looks like to them and why they're blowing by it. You are never, to be clear, guys, you're never going to take that click-through rate and make it perfect. You just aren't. It's not an option for you. It's not going to happen that way. You're not going to grab that click-through rate and make it 100%. But you also probably don't want it at 0.5% or 1%. So that's Google Search Console. So again, if you weren't convinced before and now you're convinced, here's how you get started. You got to go to the Search Console website again. There's a irony, I guess, a tautology, Google Search Console on Google, and they will take you there, sign up with your Google account, click add property and add your website in there. And it's going to start giving you all of that kind of information. It's a really, really helpful tool to give you an idea as to how people are finding you. They might not be landing on your page, but how they're seeing you the first time. So let's move on from there to the idea of Google Analytics. What do I mean when I say Google Analytics? Well, it's a little bit different than Google Search Console. Search Console is how they see you. So think of it as Search Console is how they determine that they're going to drive to your town or drive past your business. And Google Analytics is going to be more about how they interact with you. So we're actually going to track visitors with Google Analytics. We're going to watch how they interact on our page. We're going to track traffic sources. So back to social media and direct and things like that. We're going to be able to track what content works and what content doesn't work. Okay, so you've got a bunch of pages on your website. Maybe you've created them with incredible intention. Maybe some of you threw up 5 years ago and you forgot it was there. We're gonna be able to track what works and what doesn't work. We're gonna be able to track conversions. So what does conversion mean? Well, conversion means you can set a conversion on a button. You want to know every time somebody clicks contact us on your page. You want to know every time somebody clicks get help on your page. You can track that and you can get a percentage of the number of times people are on that page versus the number of times they click. You can track mobile performance. We keep telling you that that mobile is king now, right? That we spend all our time on phones and tablets and that it's shifting heavily. Well, we can actually look at the visitors on your site and get an idea of that. Here's the other thing. Back to the idea of some of the analytics that we were talking about, some of the terms we were defining. This is where we're going to see the segmentation of the people that visit your website, what they like, what they search for. Whenever we say to you, know your audience and know who they are, Google Analytics is going to help you figure out exactly who those people are and help you run Google ads to them if you want as well. If you have a search function on your website, you're going to be able to track the search function on your website. Not just tracking what content is performing, we can track what isn't performing. If you're doing e-commerce, we can track where people abandon their carts, okay? So quite simply, Google Analytics is endless amounts of information about your website. And what we're going to do here is we're going to jump in. We're going to get into Google Analytics. Okay, so this is the homepage for our Google Analytics. Again, quite simply, the first graph that we're looking at here is over the last 7 days, right? And you can change this. We can make this, instead of 7 days, we want to do a 28-day window. So we want to do the last 4 weeks instead. And it's going to give us a number of users that we've had on our website. And you can see we have an active user on there right now. They're on the About section for one reason or another. It could be somebody in our team working on it. It could be somebody who's checking us out in real time. So here's our users. Again, these are kind of those braggadocious, shall we say, numbers. Now, here's something that's concerning to me. Our bounce rate is above 70% in the last 28 days. That's pretty high. It's up 7%, so it's a little unusual. So it's something that I then would have to kind of consider why that's happening. Again, like I said, it could be that we're running ads and people are arriving on our site and it's not what they want. There could be other things, right? So this is the bar bet section, right? This is how many users, how many sessions, that kind of thing. It's useful to you. Remember, 95% of us don't get 10 visitors a month otherwise. So we're going to look at some other information in the report section over here as well. So when I say 95% of us don't get 10 visitors a month from Google search, that's fine, right? I mean, and this 270 users, 389 sessions does not mean that all of these people are finding us organically. In fact, how do you acquire users breaks it down pretty significantly. So we'll keep it at the 7 days right now. And this breaks it down as to, are they coming direct? Are they coming social? Is it organic search, paid search, other? So you can click up here. There's traffic channel, right? Source and medium. Again, it kind of goes through some of the options. What referrals are we getting? Where are they coming from? And you just hover over it here. So if I go to January 20th, which is what this tells me, it shows me that I had 9 show up direct, 3 from social, 9 from organic search, 2 from paid search, 4 from other. So it gives me an idea. This is how my active users are trending, how well I retain users. We're not going to worry a ton about that right now. I'm going to make an assumption that that we're setting this up probably for probably the first time, or we're looking at it for one of our first times. If you really want to get into Google Analytics, I am happy to go through some of the nuts and bolts with you at some point. We get all kinds of really interesting user demographic, right? Users by time of day. So when are they popping up? Well, for some reason, Tuesday at 1 a.m., I got 5 users in the last 30 days, right? I mean, that's who knows why that is. As you can see, we get most of ours during the day. Why is this useful? Well, if you're ever going to run a Google ad campaign, you can set the hours that people are able to see your ads. So I can turn my ads off after midnight if I think, well, there's no point in having that, right? So you can use this information. If for some reason your 12 to 4 a.m. was dark blue and people are searching for you at that given time, well, that's what I would tell you to be doing. I'd tell you to make sure those ads keep running there. Sessions by country. For those of us that are local businesses, you can really start breaking it down if you want, and you can really zoom in and get an idea as to where they're from, and we'll go through that in a minute as well. And here's sessions by device, right? So I actually see that our desktop traffic week over week is up pretty significantly, and obviously our mobile and our tablet traffic is down. Everything from if you're running Google ad campaigns, this is all sitting here on your homepage of Google Analytics. You get a quick snapshot as to how it's working. And finally, similar to Google Search Console, what pages are my users visiting? Where are they starting their journey? So this is really, really a quick snapshot that way. Real-time reports over here on the left are exactly what you think they are. So as I said to you, right, we've got somebody on our website in real time. We'll see if they're still there. We're going to click on this button and we'll see what they're doing and where they're from and all that kind of fun stuff. For a small site like ours, we wouldn't expect to see a ton of traffic here on any given time. They're still on the About Us section. We can go into locations and traffic sources and all of these kind of fun things as well, which is great. I mean, again, we can zoom in on Canada and things like that, but I'll be honest, I'm not too fussed as to whether or not they're, from Northwest Territories or if they're from right here in our little town of Perth, Ontario. Real time we can do. I'm not worried too much about that. I do, however, want to jump into audience with you, because I think audience is something that we, done properly, we can use the information in audience and in some of the smaller parts of audience here, some of the to really determine how we're going to market our website. So again, this is just an all users thing. So 72 users, 63 of which are new. Of those 72 users, we have 105 sessions. What does that mean? Well, every time you go back, it's another session that way. How many page views, things like that. And there's our bounce rate, right? It's a little lower over here, which is good. It's under 70%. Again, that's for this period of the 14th to the 20th though. Things like language, how they're defined, browsers, operating system, screen resolution, things like that. Again, this is just a quick overview. What we're really interested in when we get into Google Analytics is stuff like demographics. So again, if I've ever worked with you in the past and we're running ads or we're doing something along the lines of, could be social media ads, it could be Google ads, it could be, hey, it could be traditional marketing for that matter. And I always ask you, I say, okay, so tell me what your demographic is. Tell me who your audience is, who loves your business. So we're going to go here and we're actually going to change this as well. We're going to make this just the last 30 days, give us a bigger data set with regards to what we're looking at. And we're going to go back to our overview. Hopefully the data set will hold, and it did. So this is really interesting. So Google makes some assumptions, right? But Google has made an assumption here in the last 30 days. The majority of our users are between 25 and 44. Now, I mean, it's 10% of our total users, to be clear. So it's not everybody. And we've skewed heavily female in that time. You can go back, and if you really want to know who your customers have been over the past year, I can run this number, as you see, from December 22nd, 2020, all the way through till today. And we're going to give it a different skew, right? We're going to see, okay, 8% of our users are 65 plus. Majority of them appear to be between 25 and 34. And we have all these numbers. We still continue to skew heavily female in this case. So again, if somebody comes to you and says, what's your ideal target audience? Who are these people? This is how you start acquiring that information. If you're going to spend money on a marketing campaign, period, I don't care if it's a online campaign with social or search where you can target specifically, or if it's a big one, a little more generic with traditional media, you need to understand who's visiting your website. This tells me exactly who's visiting my website. Again, I can go back. I think I can go back as far as I want here. I haven't really played with it. I guess I can't go in the future. That makes sense, right? There we go. So we'll go back one more year and we'll see what this skew looks like. And so it's right. I mean, we're still skewing pretty heavily in this way. Gives you a context, right? But all that being said, that's just age and gender. There's only so much you can do with age and gender. So let's play in interests, where we're going to see some of these terms that I defined earlier. So we're going to see the idea of affinity categories and in-market segments. Now, again, if you're not going to remember this, because you're going to be looking at this 6 weeks from now, 6 years from now, whenever you're looking at this, the good news about all of this stuff, this is very similar to Google's very similar to Facebook in that if you hover over certain areas, they will tell you what they mean. So again, we're looking at this period from December 2019 all the way through till yesterday. And affinity category, right? So this is our reach, and we'll dive into affinity specifically in a moment, and in-market segment, and then just what they have in other here. So let's dive into affinity categories specifically, because this is where when you are doing social media and Google ad work, not words, work, this is where you're going to find all the information you want. This is how you cannot waste your money advertising online. So look at this. Affinity category. Here's that little question mark I was talking about, and it explains, right? We saw this definition. This is where I got it from, guys. Okay, these are categories used to reach potential customers to make them aware of your brand or product. These people, affinity categories, are people higher in the purchase funnel. So they're starting to think about what it is you do. They might not be ready for purchase yet. Oh, and the most important thing is the line at the bottom that says these are the same categories Google Ads uses. So if you're going to run search ads, if you're going to run display ads, if you're going to do anything that way, you can target these people. So when I see that 3.5% of my users in my affinity category are food and dining cooking enthusiasts and 30-minute chefs, right? And this, I can click on this category here, and it will even break it down further for me into demographics, right? And I see that most of them are from 25 to 34 years old. And if I keep clicking there, I can break it into female versus male. So I can really start paying attention and go, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so if this is where I want, I'm gonna go back to the beginning here. If I'm looking to advertise to people to get them in top of funnel, then this is where I can start to go. Let me go back, all the way back to reach here. Here we go. So food and dining cooking enthusiasts, 30-minute chefs, right? So for some reason, we know that that's a big section of the people that are seeking. I'm just going to try and get this back to the front here, guys. They're seeking information from us. I can target ads specifically to these people. Now, here's something that's really interesting for me when I look at this and I see that there are value shoppers make up a relatively large section of the people that are beginning to browse our services. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means these are people looking for deals. So I know that I can target value shoppers with web design. And I can target website sales, e-commerce sales, things like that. This is a place to really start thinking about running your ad segments too. And you can go through, and we're not going to do it now, but we can go through and we can sort all of this kind of information, right? Now, I don't have a lot of any conversions set up along these lines, but I can start grabbing value shoppers and I can have them sign up for emails, for example. And if they sign up for emails, I can send them targeted emails with regards to sales that we might be having. So can you. This is what you want to see. And this is how you will target future users. When we go to in-market segments, I want you to look at this as well. Because remember, these are people further down the funnel, so to speak. So for some reason, people that are interested in used motor vehicles are further down the segment, but not surprisingly, people that are interested in advertising and marketing services. So these 96 users, Google is telling me over the past year and a half, I've had 96 users that are a ways down, that are far down the advertising and marketing services funnel, that are far down the web design and development funnel. Well, it makes sense, right? Of course they are. They're either there because they're interested in what we're doing. Maybe they've Googled, affordable website design in Ontario 35 times over the past year. Well, Google knows this, so Google's starting to pay attention to it. And we can really see whether or not we're attracting the right people. Frankly, I don't know that apparel and accessories, women's apparel, is the demographic that we would be searching for at Cats Cove Communications. But if they're arriving on our site, they have a low bounce rate, as you can see, only 34% bounce rate. They're seeing 3 pages a session. They're spending some time on the site. So if I want to run really, really targeted Google ads, and if you're not sure how to run targeted Google ads, definitely check out our webinar that we had on that. We had a great info session on that as well. Then that's something that's interesting for you. The last one, of course, which is the section that they haven't defined as affinity or in market, is other. Well, what does other mean? Well, again, we'll go to the arrow and it lets you identify users who are not in those other categories. Because let's be honest, right? Not everybody is ready to journey down here. It's not everybody is going to be somewhere in your sales funnel necessarily. Not everyone's ready to eat at your restaurant today, tomorrow, or whenever. These are just people that are interested in other things. So arts, entertainment, celebrity entertainment, news, interesting things here. Why do we care about this stuff, guys? We care about this stuff specifically in order to retarget, in order to run targeted ads, use our money efficiently. Take that $1,000 marketing budget and squeeze every nickel from it. That's what this information is for. And that's why Google Analytics is pretty remarkable here. So last thing I want to look at, or not last thing, sorry, I want to look at this. I want to look at geography and I want to look at location specifically. So that's what geo means, right? As we continue to go through here, geo specifically means location. And again, keep in mind, we're running from 2019 to 2022. So we have a pretty significant time frame here. And you see the majority of our users are from Canada, which of course makes sense. If I click on Canada, I'm going to see some more specific information here. I'm going to see that a lot of them are from Ontario. Well, that makes sense as well, doesn't it? I think that makes sense as we are located in the province of Ontario. If I go up here under primary dimension, I can actually select city as well. And so we can start to get a little more specific. Well, the majority of our users, again, Google defines as being from Ottawa and then Perth. There's some Toronto, Kingston, Kawartha Lake, Smiths Falls, Kemptville, all these neighboring towns that we're seeing here. It makes sense, right? We can really start to, and I'm not going to get into it now, but we can really start to play with all the other dimensions here as well. And we can start kind of cracking open and saying, okay, fine, I want all my users that are from Perth. And as that slowly loads, and then I can start adding secondary dimensions in here. What else do I know about them that might be useful to me? And how can I then target ads to those people? So again, excuse me, knowing that you have 1,000 visitors a day on your website is part of the equation, part of the proverbial battle, right? Obviously, that's super useful. However, knowing that of those 1,000 visitors, that 800 of them are local is a far more useful thing. Finally, as we go through here, so back in here, guys, there's technology, there's behavior, there's mobile, there's all kinds of interesting information that's in here as well. We're not going to get into it today. But it goes back to like device usage and things like that. I do, however, want to go into the idea of acquisition. You can see the idea that Search Console is on there as well. And this is the last kind of piece to really start to think about your website properly. Where are your users coming from? Again, we're looking at a pretty significant time frame here, just over 2 years. And in that time, I see that 27% of our users have come from organic search, 27% have come from social media, 24 have come direct. We're getting referrals, which is wonderful. We've got some display ads, and you kind of go down through here, tiny little section, 55 users that have come from paid search, and an email section that I can't even get. There it is. There 36 users have come from emails that we sent out. Google tells you all this stuff. It's all here for you to use, okay? As important as anything, remember, bounce rate is the percentage of people that leave your website quickly. So what does that tell me? Well, let's look at this quickly here. It means if you found me organically on Google, organic search, you stayed. So that's really useful. This is another reason why search engine optimization is really useful. To find me organically, to find you organically on Google shows that people stick around. To do so via referral shows that people stick around. 29% bounce rate, very low. Paid search, pretty low, 48%. Email, pretty low, 47%. Look at this. Google display ads, 92% bounce rate. Doesn't work. I shouldn't say it doesn't work, but Google display ads are used for branding more than they're used for acquisition, shall we say. So it makes sense that those that ended up there went, oops, I don't want to be here, and they backed out. Those that are referred from social, 73%, they bounce quickly. This tells you, and if you may have all 8, you might have more than all 8, you might have fewer. This is a great spot to see what's working. Our organic search means people stay. So let's click on that. As we slowly load it up. We're seeing, so this is not provided. Some of it's bot traffic, it looks like. But what it really means, bot traffic is, what it really means to me is we need to ramp up our search engine optimization at Cats Cove Communications, because we know that those users hang out. We know that our display ads, our Google display ads, don't. So it's some really, really interesting information within acquisition. The last thing I want to show you is under behavior. This is something that's interesting for you to watch the site, the journey on your website. There's nothing for you to do here right now. Okay, so this is your starting page. This is where the journey starts. So if people start here and then they go here, and it's the little flow through of how people interact with your page. So remember when we talked about internal linking and things like that? This is a way to increase people's ability to stay here. Whenever you see red, this means people are dropping off from this page. So people get to our front page. So of this, you see I had 2.8K sessions, right? Almost 3,000 sessions, of which 1.2 went through somewhere else on the website, but 1.6 left immediately. This tells me our homepage isn't holding people's attention, not the way I want it to. Now, listen, our bounce rate is not horrible in that case, right? 57%, but I want that lower. So it gives me something to work on with my team. This is what Google Analytics is about. This is about turning to your web developer, turning to your team, working on it yourself, and giving yourself a list of things to do. This is about thinking about how you want people to interact with your website, how you want them to find you, things like that. I know it's a lot. I really, really do. I promise you, I understand it's a lot, especially if you haven't done it before. What I want you to take away from it is not, man, I didn't know what I don't know, and now I'm completely overwhelmed. What I'm hoping you take away from it is that there's always something to work on, and that your website, and it's wonderful, and you've spent good money on your website, but there are tweaks and there are ways to make it better. And all of the information on how to make it better is in these free tools called Google Search Console and Google Analytics. As that's a lot, if you have any questions about it, this is the best way to get in touch with us at Cats Cove Communications. Okay, our phone number is there. Call or text anytime, and we will do our best to help you out as well. You can email us at info@catscovecommunications, or if you'd like to, go check out our website, catscovecommunications.com. If you put it into the Google search bar, that counts as a direct search. If you manage to click on it from somewhere else, then it's a referral link. But that's the best way to do it. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I hope all is well, and we'll talk to you soon.